Welcome back to Same Right Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful dress with back lacing. So here you can see it has a zipper at the back, so you have to just lace it the way I'm lacing it right there, so it snatches your waist accordingly. So this is what I got, and you can see my waist is well snatched. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, I will encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn more. So I'm making 2.5 yards of satin fabric. So you can use duchess, you can use crepe, you can use satin for this project. So I have 2.5 yards. So I'm going to open up the 2.5 yards right now, and then we are going to lay it accordingly. So this is 2.5 yards, and I'm going to put it together. So once you put it together, you will have the open edge and the folded edge. So just put it under it that way, so the open edge will be under the folded edge. Then you create your zip allowance of 1 inch. So I'm going to mark out my zip allowance of 1 inch right now. So the open edged part will have the zip allowance. So make sure you arrange it very well, so you have only 1 inch to create your zipper allowance. So after creating the zipper allowance, we'll start up the drafting of this beautiful gown. You create a borderline of 1 inch too. So from the borderline of 1 inch, I'm going to take my neckline at 3.5 inches. And the neck depth is 1 inch for the back. Then I'm going to connect. I'm going to take the neck depth for the front 3.5 inches. I'm going to connect. Then I'm going to take my shoulder divide by 2 at 8 inches. Then I'm going to measure my sleeve length at 5 inches. I'll come down by 1.5 inches from my sleeve length, and I'm going to connect a slanted line to the neckline. Next is to take your sleeve line. So I'm going to mark my sleeve line at 9 inches from that slanted line. Mark 9 inches. Then I'm going to connect with a straight line. So after connecting your 9 inches line, on that 9 inches line, I'm going to take my bust circumference divide by 4. I'll add 1.5 inches to it. Then I'm going to take my waist measurement. Shoulder to waist, I have 17 inches. Shoulder to hip, I have 29 inches. Then the full length, I used 59. I'm using the whole length of the satin. On the waistline, I'm going to take my waist divide by 4. Then I added 2 inches. So if you're on a bigger size, you can add 2.5 inches there because of your tummy. Then my hip divide by 4, I added 2.5 inches. You can add 3 inches too if you're on a bigger size. So I'm going to connect what I have from the bust area to the waist, and from the waist to the hip. Then I'm going to use a straight ruler to connect to the tip of my hem. So after connecting, I will go to the hemline and measure my hip divide by 4. I have 12 inches. Then I'm going to add extra 5 or 6 inches. So I measure what I had there, it was 6 inches I added. Now I'm going to curve my kimono sleeve line. So now I'm going to come to the waistline, extend the line on the zipper line for my back zipper contour line. So on the waistline, I'm using 1 inch to contour the back of my zipper. So I'm going to connect from that waistline. I'm going to connect it to the hip to knotting and to the neckline to knotting, just to avoid zip bulge. So I'm cutting that part off. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to extend that line and replace the 1 inch zip bulge on the side. So, and on the chest line I have like 0.75 there, so I'll also add it up on the chest line. Then I'm going to connect from that chest line the replacement of the zipper bulge. I'm going to connect from the chest line to the waist, and from the waist I'm connecting it back to the waistline because I did not take anything on the waist line, on the hip line, sorry. So I'm going to create the kimono curve for the replacement. Then next I'll add 1 inch for my hemming allowance. Then I'm going to also add half an inch on the shoulder line for my seam allowance on the shoulder. So you just add half an inch. So after connecting that, our dress is ready to cut. So I'll come over to the waistline right now for the loop. I'm going to mark 6 inches on the waistline, and I'm going to find the midpoint of the 6 inches because I have 3 loops right there. So those points are my loop lines. So I'm going to extend the lines to touch both the front side and the, so I'm going to cut right now. So what I'm cutting is just the back piece. So I'm just going to cut the zipper part of it right now, just the back piece. That is what I'm cutting. So all the outer lines are what I am cutting right now. All the outer lines is for the back. So I'm going to create notches on that loop side. Just mark or create your notches. So I'm going to take off what I have for the back so we can cut the front. Then make a notch for the zipper too. So I'll bring back the front dress right now, and I'll cut out the neckline for the front dress, and then I'll cut out the replacement of that contour line which we added because the front does not need it. Then I'm going to create 3 notches for my loop line. So I'm going to create my facing for this dress right away. So I place my fabric on fold and then secure with my pin accordingly. So I'll secure with my pin, as you can see. And the next thing I'm going to do is to cut out the neckline and the shoulder line on the facing. So after cutting that, I'm going to take off the fabric, and then I'm going to measure my facing width at 3.5 inches. So I'm going to mark 3.5 inches all around like that, and cut it off. So right now I have my facing. So the next thing I'm going to do is to place the right side of the facing with the right side of the fabric and secure with my pins. Then I'll head over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to sew at 1/2 inch all around. So I'm going to create notches on it. Just make notches on the neckline which we have stitched. Flip all your seams to the facing and top stitch. So I'm going to create my facing for the back piece too. So I'll just place the fabric on top of the pieces so I can be able to cut out the facing. So I'm going to secure with my pins and then cut out my facing accordingly. Alright, so I'm done cutting right now. I'm going to measure my facing for the back at 3.5 inches width. So it has to be the same with what you have for the front facing. So I measure 3.5 inches width like that, like that. So I'm going to cut it off this way. So the facing is ready right now. I'm going to place the facing right side to the fabric. Then I'll secure with my pins and stitch at 1/2 inch for both of them. So this is what I got. I'm going to top stitch too. So I'll create my notches and top stitch as well. So after top stitching and ironing, this is what I have for the front piece. So we are going to sew the loop right now. My loop width is 2 inches and the length of the loop is as long as you can cut out for the loop. So I'll fold it 1/2 inch and I'll go over to the machine and stitch on it. So here is my loop. I gave it a good press. So I'll cut it at 3 inches. So I'm cutting my loop at 3 inches. So I'm going to cut 6 pieces of this loop because we have 3 on one side and 3 on the other side. So I'll just go over and cut 3 pieces of it. So 6 pieces of it, sorry. So my loop right now is ready. So we are going to fix the loops at the notches. You just fold it into 2 and make sure you face the loop inwards. Before you secure your pin, face the loop inwards so that by the time you stitch the side, the loop will be inside instead of outside the stitches. So I'll just go ahead and pin on this side and I'll also pin on the other side too. So next I'll come over to the back and I'm going to put the back together right side to right side because I want to stitch the 1 inch which we added for the zipper. So I'm going to align the fabric at the center back very well and then measure my zip from the neckline. Then I'm going to mark 1 inch below above the zipper before I mark my line. So I'm going to mark 1 inch from that line because that is what we added for our zipper allowance. So I'll go over to the machine right now to stitch. So here I'm done stitching my zipper and you can see what we have. So look at my loops. I still have them pinned. So I'm going to lay the back piece to the right side to the front piece and then sew the neckline. So I'm going to flip all my facings and wrap it up with 1. So I'll stitch at 1/2 inch. So this is my stitches and I'm going to fold my sleeve. So I'll head over to the machine now to fold my sleeve accordingly. So after that, I went ahead to stitch the side of the dress. So make sure you also put a notch at that kimono curve so it frees that part. So this is what I have. The next is to cut out my rope. So for the rope, I just folded my remaining fabric which I had from the fabric at 2 inches. So I just cut out as long as the rope can be. It can be 120, it can be 100 inches in length, but the width is 2 inches. I'm going to join them and sew. So this is what I have. So you are going to use it to tie as you see me tie at the beginning of this video. So now there is a circle on the, like an eyelet. So you just get the center front and measure downwards 7 inches and measure inwards 4 inches. Then you space it at 3 inches just to get that eyelet. I don't have any eyelet with me right here, so I decided to leave it. So but if you want to fix the eyelet, just go ahead and mark that space and fix your eyelet. Then you can use your rope to design it, as you can see in the video. So this is how we come to the end of this tutorial. Please kindly subscribe and turn on your notification bell. Thanks for watching. Bye.